Who's that knocking on my door? In the middle of a bustling suburb, there lays a graveyard. It is at the exact center of the city limits. The graveyard is a memoir of the aging and the helpless. Young teenagers sneak into the graveyard late at night, knocking over gravestones. A husband and wife yell and chase the teenagers with rifles. The Presbyterian church sings hymns, cooing the dead to everlasting sleep. On a comfortably warm and breezy day, Larry shuffles down the paved path where hearses drift slowly by. They pass by him in a straight line. Unaware of the cars, Larry grips onto his bouquet of flowers. The thorns from the roses haven't been sheared and pierce Larry's skin. After marching down the path like a seasoned soldier, Larry stops in front of his wife's tombstone. She is buried in a fenced-off plot. Larry stands solemnly in front of her grave. He rubs the top of the granite tenderly as if it were a part of his dead wife. He longs for the sound of her voice, her warm breath on his neck, even the scorn of her insults. He sits on the ground weeping like a lost child. Larry's wife was more than the world to him. She defined who was Larry. The bulk of his conversation and thoughts revolved around the idiosyncrasies of his wife. When she left the room, he would pace undecidedly. She would come back and Larry would breathe a sigh of relief. It sickened Larry to think of the man he would be without his wife. Now he deals with reality. She's never coming back. Death is final, and regardless of whether there's a heaven or a hell, Larry is at this moment alone. He is utterly and pathetically alone. He cries himself into a crazed stupor. He rubs his eyes on his arm and sprints out of the graveyard. When Larry gets home, he lays on the couch. He turns on the TV and watches the news. He enjoys seeing people worse off than himself. News stories put Larry's life into perspective. Today, Larry expects a package. He wandered through the deepest parts of the internet in search of a divine solution to the hole in his heart. There's a heavy-handed knock at the door. Larry's eyes widen with excitement. His life will finally have meaning. It will make sense after he opens that door. When he answers the knock, a woman in a mask stands before him. He looks behind her, wondering where the deliverer went off to. Larry smiles and pulls her inside. "You must be Nika. Let me show you around," he says. Larry takes Nika on a tour around his home. She doesn't say a word to Larry, but Larry doesn't care. Larry needs someone to listen to him. He needs someone to reassure he exists. That night, he makes love to Nika. When he goes to sleep, she takes off her mask. Her face is in a permanent smile. Her yellow teeth glow in the night. She creeps around his house and opens the front door for all her friends to come in. They sleep in Larry's house from now till the end of his days. They wander through the hallways as aimless as ghosts. Larry doesn't mind, though. He finally has a family. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to support the Simulation Podcast, you can donate to my Patreon account. Any amount would be extraordinarily helpful. The link will be in the description along with all my social media accounts.